an insight into what we know. And sources have told us that China attempted to pull a fast one on India at the SCO. It drafted a declaration omitting the Pahalgam reference, but it included a reference to Jafar Express hijacking. Now, if you remember, viewers, that happened in Balochistan, where a train was hijacked by Balochi separatists. As you know, there has been an ongoing movement for freedom. Balochistan never really, viewers, signed an agreement with Pakistan. It was taken over. In fact, Frontier Gandhi, as he was called, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, wanted no partition. But viewers, he was fooled by the Pakistani military establishment, forced into signing a document that led to the accession of Balochistan to Pakistan. Balochis wanted to be a separate country. And if that were failing, they wanted to be a part of our country, India, viewers. Pakistan, of course, wouldn't have anything of it. So the Balochis did that attack. We have nothing to do with it, viewers. This is a long-running separatist movement in Balochistan. But India spotted that sneaky bid to project Pakistan's Baloch line. All was being done, viewers, with the tacit help of the Chinese. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh refused to sign the SCO declaration. First ever SCO meeting ended without consensus on the wordings of a declaration, viewers. And I want you to see those pictures again and just analyze the body language. So a document lands, and as you can see, Rajnath Singh says a few words. He knows what he's being presented with. He flips and flicks a few pages, and he says, we're not signing, and he puts his pen down, and he puts his hand by his head. He knows the game. The Indian side listed its reasons for rejecting the draft that resulted in the first ever standoff over a declaration at an SCO meet. Government sources have told us that India said it was not satisfied with the language of the joint document. And there was no mention of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. There was mention of incidents that happened in Pakistan. So India refused to sign the joint declaration, and there is no joint communique either, unquote. So this is the first time. It's unprecedented, viewers. Of course, here there has been a narrative that India has surrendered constantly. It doesn't have the ability to stand up to China. It doesn't have the ability to stand up to Trump, etc., especially under Modi. But here, very visibly, very demonstrably, viewers, India said, sorry, we're not signing. Let's open this up, because a conversation is needed, and an in-depth conversation will serve the interests. First of all, sir, Rohan Gupta, how do you respond to the charge that we didn't get our way, for example, in getting this document to read in a manner that favored us? How do you respond to that? Many people are saying that why wasn't, in fact, a reference to Pahalgam included if our diplomacy is so good?
See, Rahul, nowadays, the situation is such that even opposition parties' expectation from Modi government is such that they are now expecting Modi government to control action of other people. If Trump meets Munir for Iran-Israel issue, that also they says, why, this is a loss of Indian diplomacy. What they are talking about? Have they forgotten 26/11, where they were just waiting for US statement for many days and they could not even retaliate because they were scared that if we will retaliate, something will happen inside India? Are they talking about action? This is the Modi government, which is clear-cut, confident and aggressive foreign policy. This is the example. We are not going to succumb to any tactics of China or Pakistan. We are very clear-cut. Rajnath Singh ji clearly told that terrorism cannot go hand in hand with peace and prosperity. If any country uses terrorism as a policy tool, we are not going to succumb to it. And India will ensure that whoever is perpetrator of terrorism, we will ensure that we will go there and kill them. That is the stand of India, clear-cut stand. So this is the India which will not fall prey against China or Pakistan under any policy decision. And this is the first time we have ensured that the statement which was vague, which was, maybe it was favoring Pakistan in a way. We have not signed. This is a clear-cut message of India that this time Operation Sindoor is on, and unless and until Pakistan is exposed for cross-border terrorism as a tool to be used in future.
Okay, well, this is quite dramatic. I think we lost you there. Yes.
We'll continue our aggression in our foreign policy.
You'll continue
so what I'm saying
aggressive
now,
and assertive foreign policy.
We will continue our Operation Sindoor and ensure that Pakistan is exposed on international platforms unless and until they stop cross-border terrorism.
Okay, the corollary, of course, is that will Prime Minister Modi now attend the SCO summit-level meeting? We don't know about that. We're yet to get confirmation from the government. But do you think he should or he should not after this?
See, Rahul, I think sometimes we should leave something to the government to decide. We should not, on a debate, we should even comment on that. They know the interest of the country. But the important thing is to ensure that in a strategical point of, where that China and Pakistan, they are walking hand in hand. We keep on exposing them on each and every platform.
Well, let me tell you, these visuals are unprecedented in a sense. You see this kind of sort of strident stand in other fora. You've seen that, of course, in Trump's own dealings with certain heads of state who've come calling upon him in the Oval Office, where there was a pushback, very visible pushback. The Raksha Mantri is not a demonstrably rude kind of person. He's very mindful of manners, but you can see on his face, Sanjay Jha, you can see on his face, there's a certain firmness, sternness. He's not going to take rubbish from anyone, and he's certainly not going to allow India's national interests to be suborned by clever wordplay. We've seen that happen in Sharm el-Sheikh in the past, but this time I think experience, call it what you want to, wisened India up to this possibility. We went in prepared, we did our homework, we refused to sign. You can see those pictures. Do you think this was a good thing? This is finally a sign that India is now beginning to say, no, thank you. Prime Minister said to Trump, no, thank you. Don't want to visit. Thank you for your invitation, but no, thank you. This is the basic facts of what actually transpired. And now, of course, you see a visible demonstration of that from the RM, the Raksha Mantri.
Yeah. Rahul, good evening to you and to my friend Rohan. I don't think, Rohan, we need to be bellicose and belligerent on a debate on foreign policy or national security here. Let's have a very nuanced conversation. Everything cannot be brought down to a BJP versus Congress. So, Rahul, let me answer your question upfront. I do believe that it is very appropriate and absolutely pertinent that Mr. Rajnath Singh has not signed on the document. It would have been an extremely embarrassing manifestation of our weakness if he had done that. Because frankly speaking, the argument that is being posed is equally germane, that we have all seen that the Pahalgam terror attack led to an attack of military operations against Pakistan that frankly caught world attention. It had the President of the United States claiming to intervene in the skirmish. So for the Pahalgam terror attack not to be mentioned in the SCO, that to me is the fundamental challenge for Indian diplomacy. And as you rightly raised at the beginning, I mean, if we are not able to maneuver, navigate these extremely treacherous territorial waters, that means we have a lot of homework to do. And I will say so upfront on your show that I know it is not an easy job. If you look at the constitution of the SCO, now with Iran also being a member, you do realize that there is the powerful Russia-China axis which is already prevalent. And of course, one is expecting that the Iran nexus will become even stronger after the Israeli aggression. So India, to a great extent today in the SCO, probably will stand isolated if it is not able to, possibly work through the engines of diplomatic negotiation. I would have ideally, and I'm sure Rahul, you'll agree with me, we may have disagreed on many issues in the past, that ideally we should have got Pahalgam as a strong statement of condemnation by the SCO, because Pakistan cannot take umbrage under the fact that India hasn't given it evidence. We all know that India has been a victim of cross-border terrorism, and Pahalgam is no exception. The second point that worries me, and I think this is a point that you must ask Rohan to explain, because I have been on a debate with a senior person from the Modi government who has conceded that if the ministers in this government are going to make these absurd statements that the ASEAN nations are the B team of China, then I can tell you one thing, Rahul. We are isolating ourselves not just in our immediate neighborhood, where it is a great Chinafication project going on, include Bangladesh into it now, unfortunately. And you also have the ASEAN nations who will say, what is India talking about? And I think these are matters.
No, I think that comment was that, anyhow, that's not for me to explain. That's for the minister concerned to come out and explain. But I do know that that comment perhaps was taken slightly out of context. But that's the way it is sometimes. That's the way it spins sometimes. And it did create a few ripples. But let's just come back to this SCO meeting, viewers, because this is unprecedented. An SCO meeting not ending with a consensus-orientated declaration, multi-party declaration, is not been heard of. So, Rohan Gupta, the question that Sanjay Jha, the original question that he's posing, and some people are also posing, is that have we succeeded in giving Pakistan a little bit of a free run in the SCO by not being able to get the reference to Pahalgam into that document? Now, Pakistan clearly has been able to weigh on China. We don't seem to have been able to get Russia to prevail on China to help our cause, or even Iran. Iran and Pakistan are not seeing eye to eye right now for obvious reasons. General Munir went and supped with Trump. He got a free lunch and then came away. And right after, you saw America going straight in. We don't know, tacit help might have been given, in fact, to the US by the Pakistanis. So clearly there's some, you know, they don't trust each other. So we could have exploited that. We could have got the mention of Pahalgam into this document.
See, Rahul, that's what I'm saying. See, we need to understand, and my friend Sanjay Jha rightly told that sometimes we have to see something out of the context of BJP and Congress. And fortunately, it is good that he is not part of Congress. Maybe otherwise he would have been thrown out again. But the point here is different, Rahul. We need to understand the current political situation across the globe. See, the way India is growing, you know, the way India's influence is growing globally, obviously China, for that matter, any other country, they would not like India to come on the first row. Obviously, we have to fight our own battle, and that is what we are showing.
No, so have we succeeded in the limited context of the SCO?
Because we know, absolutely, we know in SCO the influence of China. We know they have been the host, and what is the influence of the host country on preparing the statement. And when we have clear-cut said no to signing the statement, when the declaration could not be signed, that itself shows that we have won. Our narrative, and we have to list the reasons of not signing the agreement, right? We have listed the clear-cut reasons. That point number one, when Pahalgam doesn't get mentioned in cross-border terrorism. Point number two, the Baluchis things get mentioned, which is not the cross-border terrorism. Then are we serious about the cross-border terrorism? We have listed our reasons clearly. So I think I consider it a very, very strong representation by India and our foreign policy, and clear-cut message to the world that there cannot be vague idea about the cross-border terrorism. We have to call spade a spade. And that is what Pakistan has been used to using for terrorism as a policy
Sanjay
tool.
That's a good point. That's a good point that Rohan Gupta makes. Okay, yeah, finish your point. Sorry, I didn't mean
a very, very small thing. Yeah. See, Rahul, we have moved from a defensive foreign policy to the very, very aggressive and offensive policy. It's not the India that after 26/11 we were waiting for validation from other countries. We have done our job. We have exposed Pakistan. We have successfully completed Operation Sindoor. We have retaliated. And after that, now diplomatically we are exposing Pakistan. Okay. So we have not ended there.
Let me ask Sanjay Jha. Let me ask Sanjay Jha, because this is an important point that Rohan Gupta, the first one that he made, it's an important one. He says that, look, China now stands exposed as a country that tolerates or gives a long or a free pass to another country that promotes cross-border terror, destabilizes the sovereignty of another nation, by not signing this document, we bring focus right back on China. We put China on the defensive, actually. Why, people will ask, did this SCO end without a declaration? Because China stood in the way of criticizing what really was an attack against humanity. Very simple. Sanjay Jha.
Well, Rahul, unfortunately, it is a lot more complicated than, making that kind of a straightforward generalization. So I'll tell you where the problem lies.
It's not really, because after 26/11, the misadventure that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh. I don't have to remind you, it was a terrible blow to India's standing. We allowed references, Baluchistan, come into the whole agreement, and you know where that leads. It draws an equivalence a false equivalence between India and Pakistan. Where they can paint themselves as victims of terror, cross-border terror especially.
Yeah, Rahul, let's come to the contemporary circumstances as they are today. And I'll tell you why there should be a worry. One of the terms used very often in diplomatic conversations is what is called as a dramatic vulnerability or a dangerous vulnerability. And if you look at the SCO today, I'll tell you why, because I think you follow national security with great scrutiny. The big worry for India ought to be Russia. And I'll tell you why. Because in the relationship, the BFF, the new best friends forever, are really Russia and China. And there is the China, which is the big brother. So when we should not get carried away at all by the internal assessment of a political party of muscular nationalism here. We become vulnerable because Russia goes neutral. Russia will now probably adhere to the border politics of China. And as we have seen already, you're talking about China endorsing Pakistan terrorism. China was literally doing an unofficial two-front war against us during Operation Sindoor. I mean, that is what gave Pakistan the confidence, the missiles and the jets. So I think let's be very clear here that already Pakistan is invested in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. They've got significant commercial investments. And we also know that a part of that POK has been given by Pakistan to China. So that relationship is enduring. And therefore, we need to realize, are we hyphenating ourselves too much with the United States of America? That's a fundamental question.
I mean, I don't think that's true, because in the BRICS, I don't know if you've been following that, in the BRICS, in fact, we were part of the resolution condemning
I got that.
America's attacks on Iran. So there look, I think there's been a pushback. I think Rohan Gupta is right that India is now beginning to not mask its own reservations. It is expressing them.
Absolutely.
The moot question is whether that will have a salutary, sobering impact on countries like China. That's the question. Yes, we are registering our protest now very firmly, but is that enough? Or do we need to go further? That's the fundamental question, viewers, I leave you with. Viewers, let's shift focus just a little bit now and look at another theatre, battle theatre, so to speak, where the embers have begun to cool. As you know, there was a protracted war between Israel and Iran. It lasted just under 2 weeks. The 12-day war, as it is being called, viewers, is being hotly contested now in a different manner. In the realm of claims and counterclaims. Who won? Who lost? Who inflicted the greatest damage? Who gains? Viewers, US President Donald Trump is livid. He sent in the B-2s, and as you can see from the visual evidence, they seem to have inflicted a lot of damage on Iranian nuclear facilities. Trump says he obliterated them. He's pushed back Iran's nuclear weapons / any ability to produce nuclear weapons program by decades. There are many in the United States who are not buying this bombast. And Trump has been extremely upset with these people, and in press conferences, he has been taunting them, calling them unpatriotic, individuals who don't want to give the armed forces of the United States credit for doing their job. Viewers, US airstrikes, it is being said, did not destroy Iran's nuclear capacity. And some people are saying only set them back by just a few months. Donald Trump says that he's got new intelligence from his own CIA assessment that suggests otherwise. Listen in to Donald Trump first.
This was a devastating attack, and it knocked them for a loop. And you know, if it didn't, they wouldn't have settled. If they had won, if we didn't take it out, they wouldn't have settled. Somebody mentioned that to me last night. If that thing wasn't devastated, they would have never settled.
How long do you think that the Iranian nuclear program has been put back by these strikes? Years or totally obliterated? How
I
long
think
is your
basically decades, because I don't think they'll ever do it again. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to take their oil, they're going to have some missiles, and they'll have some defense. I think they've had it. I mean, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich. They've been trying to do it. By the way, it's hard to enrich. And, you know, when you look at a site like that, very, very hard to build. Very, very hard, very expensive. They spent trillions of dollars trying to do this thing, and they didn't come up with it. And we're actually getting along with them very well right now. But had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
Now, viewers, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, who has not been seen over the last 2 weeks, has emerged and claimed otherwise. And he's joined this war of versions, as I called it at the beginning of this segment, viewers. He's saying that it is Iran that has won, and that United States entered the conflict with Israel only because they felt that if they did not, the Zionist regime, aka Israel, would be destroyed. However, he also goes on to add that the Americans, by entering this war, did not gain anything. In fact, viewers, Ayatollah Khamenei has said that Iran has stood up to these two great powers, has held its own, and is a beacon for textbook autonomy and defense. Now, viewers, as I told you, in this war of versions, there is yet another problem, and that is that no one can actually go physically to Iran to verify those sites, because Iran, as you know, has pulled out now out of the IAEA. But even then, the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, has come out and said that his agency has obtained a body of credible evidence. He doesn't tell you what it is, but he goes on to say this credible evidence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. And this includes new intelligence from a historically reliable source that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and will have to be rebuilt over the course of years, unquote. To decode this war of intelligence reports and claims and counterclaims, I am joined by John Spencer, who is speaking to us exclusively. He's the director of the Urban Warfare Institute, very well heralded, and he's also written an article analyzing who has actually won this war, if there has been any one winner, or are the spoils shared, etc. etc. He's gone into it with some perseverance and insight. So let's get to it. And Mr. Spencer, first things first, look at those pictures. Could anything have survived underneath those devastated areas, or is there a possibility that Iran, A, took out some of its fissile material? Many people are putting that number at 40 to 60% of it. Or it's just buried so deep down their program that even the JDAMs or the bunker busters, or call them what you want to, couldn't get to them.
So it's a good question. I don't know if it's the right question about, yeah, they could have, there were some satellite footage of trucks either moving stuff in or moving stuff out. But to be clear, the United States dropped 12 30,000-pound bunker busting munitions that penetrate over 200 feet, each one of them, and they can be dropped on top of each other to go deeper. The first ever operational deployment of this bomb on that site. Could there be something deep in the mountain that survived? Sure, maybe, very little. But that isn't the question about as you saw in my article, did the United States assist Israel in achieving the goal of the war, which was one, roll back the nuclear program. And people can debate, although the only thing that people are using to debate it is a leaked cursory intelligence report in the opening hours after the strike against pretty much objective reality of what was comprehensively done, not just to Fordo, but Natanz, Esfahan, Arafat, other locations, and the systematic program. 13, 14 nuclear scientists, the chief nuclear scientist, the knowledge you need, all the missile components you would need to weaponize a nuclear weapon. To say that Israel and the United States, with its help, with a bomb that only the United States has in the world, with a fighter that only the United States has, that pushed it closer to that goal of rolling the program back. Oh, by the way, what Iran has said is very stereotypical of a terror regime, a fear society, much like what Pakistan said after Sindoor. I don't take that stuff with pretty much any of a grain of salt. Iran did immediately halt the operation after doing a symbolic ceremonial launch of 14 missiles towards an American base that all gave advance notice. I just think there's a lot of basically politicalization of our media, of the questioning of it. But as a war analyst, a war researcher, to objectively say, did the United States have immense impact at Fordo? Absolutely. And the Tomahawk sent to Natanz and others, absolutely overwhelming success in use of a very limited operation to push towards the goal of rolling the nuclear program back.
Yes, of course. You talked about the politicization of the media discourse. India suffered, as you know, right after our conflagration with Pakistan. We took out a large number of their military bases, and we had photographs such as these which showed that there was a lot of burnt ground around the strike areas. So we can identify with all of this, but one of the problems is, John Spencer, that the Iranians knew what was coming. And it is quite possible that the Iranians preempted these attacks because there was enough commentary. Trump had made it quite clear. In fact, he'd said that within 12 days, we're going to do it. He did it on the second day. That might have been the only element of surprise. But I don't think anyone in the Iranian establishment thought that Trump would sit it out.
Yeah, no, I think even I wasn't sure. After the United States has dealt with a lot of rhetoric, and I wrote this other article as well saying, comparing this to the United States experience over the last 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's just intellectually lazy. But that is a real thing in the United States where they don't want to get involved in wars in the Middle East. And both Israel articulating the limited goals, the existential threat of Iran getting a nuclear bomb, as we've seen with other countries with nuclear bombs, it both creates a threat, but also an umbrella to terrorism, right? And India suffers this terrorism as well. Iran wanted that umbrella. Absolutely, you can see that the goal here, and if they would have moved something, it wouldn't be the infrastructure that you're talking about. Whatever was inside that mountain, that site, the crown jewel of Iran's nuclear program is destroyed. Could they have moved a certain pound of enriched uranium up there, a certain percentage? Yes, but that's not the smoking gun of the program. The program is holistic.
Okay, well, let me ask you this on that point, because it's an important point to make. People say you only need a little bit of fissile material, which is weapons grade, to produce 3 or 4 nuclear weapons. What does Iran really want? It needs 2 or 3 nuclear weapons. Do you think it has the capacity to even make those?
No, not at this moment. and I think they were very close, not just the United States intelligence and Israel's intelligence. Iran, the IAEA, the morning before Israel struck, said that they were in breach of the nuclear proliferation obligations. They were enriching uranium up to that point. But yet, you're right. You get into nuclear, a certain percentage of enrichment is one step in the process. You didn't have to weaponize that and put it on a missile and all of these other components that they had not achieved, which is what they call breakout. Absolutely, that is not the measurement of how close they were to breakout. And it was an existential threat by all assessments. Some people said a week to 1 bomb, 3 weeks to 100 bomb, whatever it was, they're nowhere near that no more. And that's as objective as you can get.
And what are you basing your assessment on? Obviously, you are relying on what you're hearing from the administration, or do you believe that you have now the capacity to make an independent call, Mr. Spencer?
I think most people would, although they're debating again, like how much, from my own military experience of seeing 500-pound bombs detonate on the surface. And why we wouldn't see detonations of blacked out earth right here is because these things penetrate over 100 feet underground before they even start to explode. I have enough military knowledge to know just about the sites that what we all can see open source is one thing, but also the Iranians didn't even say that the nuclear scientists, because it's really hard to hide, car bombed, exploded apartments, all this, that their entire military hierarchy, right? And this is beyond, of course, what India dominated Pakistan in, but they killed 25 senior IRGC commanders, 13 nuclear scientists, hit all these sites. Like all that's objectively, even Iran says that's true, although they say we won something. Iran wasn't able to retaliate. Israel took out their ability to retaliate. So if you think that Israel or the United States would let Iran start this back up, that's the thing that people are missing. Just like India did during Operation Sindoor, is that Israel and the United States showed a change in the doctrine towards approaching a threat. No longer are you going to say you're not having a program while you're rushing to a program. Israel in the United States did what's called escalation dominance. Like, we're not going to play this game where we stop and you negotiate for a few years. We're going to use escalation dominance, and did force a decision very rapidly.
John Spencer, thank you very much for sharing your insight with us. Thank you very much. Viewers, Shubhanshu Shukla becomes the first Indian aboard the ISS. It's a massive moment for him personally, but a giant leap for India's space program. The ISRO has planned a large number of activities as we go into the future, the first being, of course, the Gaganyaan crewed missions. And viewers, learnings from the ISI stint will be absolutely vital to ensure that we can develop the technical capabilities to plan crewed missions or manned missions up into space beginning next year. The Axiom 4 mission's Dragon capsule carrying Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, and you can see him sitting there in the ISS, huge moment. And 3 other crewmates successfully docked at the International Space Station. Moments of arrival, these individuals were greeted by warm hugs by those who are already aboard, and you can see them sitting around Shukla. And viewers, they also got a briefing on safety measures aboard the craft. Now, Shubhanshu Shukla is expected to stay aboard the ISS for about two weeks, during which the crew will participate in a range of scientific research, outreach initiatives and commercial projects. And with this mission, as I told you viewers, Shukla will be able to transfer lived experience to the designers, the conceivers, the engineers of the Gaganyaan mission. This serves as a crucial stepping stone for India's space program, ISRO's future projects. And viewers, the message from Shubhanshu Shukla and his family has been one of absolute joy. There was a press conference also when Shubhanshu and the other 3 crew members were aboard the Dragon capsule, and that was before the docking procedure. The docking went off smoothly. It was obviously a tense moment, but it went off smoothly, and now you can see all of them there. Let's basically get an idea of what Shubhanshu Shukla is likely to experience aboard the ISS, and also get a sense of the learnings that he is going to take away and bring back to Earth for ISRO to build upon. We have with us Clayton Anderson, former NASA astronaut who spent a long time in space. We also have Ayam Jahangir, a space traveler, astronaut in his own right, and Sumak Ray Chaudhary, VC of the Ashoka University and astrophysicist. So let me first begin with a few questions to set the mood with Clayton Anderson. I can see Clayton Anderson already there in his overalls. So very much in character, so to speak. We see on the right the Axiom crew in their overalls. Clayton Anderson, thank you for speaking to us. What's it like to be on the ISS? What is the experience like?
Well, it's an honor and a privilege. Not many people get that opportunity, so I'm very grateful for that. I think your astronaut is also very grateful, and I'm thinking that right about now he's having a great time. To be on board the International Space Station and to be serving your country in that capacity is a very rewarding feeling. At least it was for me. I'm sure it is for him. And his career is just starting. So I'm very excited for him and the rest of his crew. I'm very jealous and envious of the opportunity that Peggy gets to keep going back into space. You know, she was my commander for a few weeks on board the International Space Station back in 2007. I would love to have the opportunity to return to there and experience what they're experiencing today. But it's critical, I think, that having other countries involved in these efforts is important to the future of space exploration.
So in what way is it fun? You mentioned the word fun. It's fun to be on this space station. In what way is it fun? What happens?
Well, I tell people that I was Superman every day. I woke up and I flew to breakfast, and then I flew to work. And if I needed a break, I flew into the bathroom. I flew while I was going to the bathroom. I mean, you cannot imagine how cool that is, and it becomes second nature. It's as if someone on Earth, a little baby perhaps, learns to walk for the first time, right? It's very exciting the first time, then it becomes normal until the next activity changes your learning curve. So I'm sure they're struggling a little bit. They feel like they're kind of a bull in a china shop, and they're kicking things off the wall. And they're having trouble maybe operating some experiments because they haven't figured out how to do it in zero G. But that's part of the fun, right? Part of the learning curve makes it enjoyable.
The one question that I want to ask you, do you get space, pun intended, to do your own thing up in space in the ISS? I mean, what's it like, personal space-wise?
Yes. In 2007, the station was smaller than it is today, but I had ample space. You know, I could go into my sleep station. That was typically my go-to place. It was about the size of a telephone booth, and it was quiet, and I could reflect, I could cry, I could rest, I could do all the things I needed to do. Today, the station's a lot bigger, so there are ample places to go and hang out. But the crew sizes are also getting bigger, which means, well, you know, sometimes you're going to be hanging out and somebody else is going to want to hang out with you, especially if you're talking about the cupola or the middle of the lab module. But if you really need to get away and get into a quiet space, I think there are enough places to do that.
So how has the ISS changed since you were there last? In other words, what are the new additions that you've seen?
Well, there are multiple. Most notably for me was the cupola. When I flew back to the station in 2010 and the cupola was installed, it was amazing to see the Earth from that venue. But unfortunately, I was like your astronaut from India. He's on a 2-week mission, right? And the 2-week mission with lots of experiments means he doesn't have a lot of time to go look in the cupola and out the window. They also had added the European module, the Japanese module, habitation module, not to mention a couple new things on the Russian end. So It's bigger, it's better. It has 2 bathrooms now. It has 2 places to prepare food. We only had 1 of each. And so it's a relatively comfortable living space for 4 to 8 people, I guess.
Well, the fun has to be balanced, I suppose, with also the work that you've been assigned and tasked. And Professor Ray Chaudhuri, I have to bring you in on this. What really are the parameters that this mission is going to be judged by? They've set themselves a number of tasks. What do these tasks teach us? What's the end game here?
The tasks, of course, are scientific, some of them, and these are payloads that have been taken up. It's not the first time biological experiments are being done on the space station, but these are Indian experiments that are designed by Indian research groups, which have to be performed up there. But more importantly, it's something that you already said. It's the lived experience of what it feels like to be on the rocket going there, and as well as life on the station that one has to get used to. And this will be a wealth of experience for future Gaganyatris that we are, as a nation, are preparing. I mean, this is also a big signal that India is now ready for the next phase of having a mature space program in which we are building a lot of things. The plan is for human space flights. The plan is for the next going to build our own space station, as well as having human on the moon. All of these will take development stage by stage. And it is one thing for astronauts to train in a simulator, to go up there and do these tasks, live the daily experience of an astronaut, is going to educate us as to how to prepare for the others to follow Shubhangshu Shukla. And, you know, that is, it's a proud moment that it is a serious signal that India as a nation is ready for this big space program. And the other thing is very practical, and that is we learn how things actually work.
Yeah, I'm going to, of course, go back to Mr. Anderson in just a few moments and get a sense really of the time that you spend on the ISS and how you make the best of it and what your day is going to be like. So I'm going to do that. But before that, I want to bring in Ayman Jahangir, who's been a space traveler. In other words, he's gone into space, perhaps even piloted a spacecraft. So that's also challenging, isn't it, Ayman Jahangir? That's not an easy task. Everyone just thinks that you're pointed in one direction and you're just going to flow in that direction and you're going to get to your destination. But even an inch deviation can mean a huge miss between docking with the ISS or missing the mark. So just explain the complex nature of that, that coming together, so to speak, of the Dragon module with the ISS space station. It's not easy. Just break it down for our viewers.
Yeah, so you have to remember that these modules, both the space station and the crew capsule, are going over 23,000 miles per hour.
Wow.
Quite fast. And it's not like trying to pull into your garage here on Earth, because here we're working, basically, it's, you know, we live in 3 dimensions, but when you're navigating, you're just worried about going straight and maybe to the left and right. Whereas when you are traveling in space, you have to also think about where your altitude is and where you are relatively compared to the Earth or wherever you're trying to get, in this case, the space station. I think things in general have gotten easier because we have better computers, better autonomous vehicles, but it does require the human touch. And I think the perfect example was the last flight that Butch and Sunita did. If you recall, they had difficulty with some of their thrusters, and they had to manually take control of that capsule to get it docked with the ISS. I mean, it was a very serious situation, but because of the experience that they had as pilots, the training they had over the course of years, particularly with that capsule, they were able to do it safely. So it is, you know, I think when you think about spaceflight, we talk about how dangerous it is. Taking off is always very dangerous, you know, getting out of Earth's kind of orbit to where you can at least go and rotate around the Earth because you have a lot of fuel underneath you and you're sitting on top of a rocket. But then secondarily, it's trying to dock with another object, and in this case, the space station is also a very difficult task. So yes, absolutely requires a human component despite all of our automated and computerized sensors. Because if something does go wrong, you really need someone with experience to be able to do that.
Now, Mr. Jahangir, the interesting thing is that Shubhanshu was behind the controls here. And that means that India now perhaps at least has one person who knows how to repeat that maneuver, all things being same, in the future. And how this sort of fits in part of the puzzle, he'll bring that back, wouldn't he? This is a great experience.
Yes. Fantastic experience, and also brings it back to the engineers at ISRO who are developing the capsule that ISRO is going to fly and the rocket that ISRO is going to fly. So this is, I think, invaluable experience for not just Captain Shukla, but for India as a whole, because anything that he is doing, whether it's with the Crew Dragon and the capsule that they have or on the space station, is hands-on experience that he can then bring his perspective to and help engineers and scientists back home develop their space program.
How much of that goes into designing a craft, etc., this hands-on experience? How relevant is it? Or is it now all sort of, other people have done it, so you just pick up from the manuals the right sort of instructions and you put it together?
I mean, definitely you're right. You know, Captain Shukla was, I think he said number 634, something like that to go to orbit. So not many people have done it, but you're right. A lot of people have done it comparatively. But he might see things with a different perspective because he grew up in India and was trained in an Indian education system. And he might bring a perspective to it that his U.S. counterparts don't have. So I think that it is valuable because he is going to see something that someone else may have never seen. And that will improve not just India's space program, but space exploration for everyone.
So let me bring in Clayton Anderson. That's an important point. Clayton Anderson, just to come back to what now lies ahead for Shubhanshu Shukla, what's an average day like on the ISS, like for astronauts, or for that matter, someone like Shubhanshu himself?
Well, I don't know exactly what Shubhanshu and his crew's itinerary is. But typically, I would wake up around 6 a.m., 6:30 Greenwich time. So everything was based on the time in London, England. That gave Russia and Japan and the United States and Canada and the European Space Agency, we all kind of knew what time zone we were in. I would wake up about 6:30. I would fly down to the bathroom and do those things. And then I would have breakfast with my crewmates. And I always tried to do my exercise immediately after breakfast. I know that doesn't sound right to some people, but it worked out for me because after I did 2.5 hours of exercise, I could clean up and do a towel bath. And then I put on fresh clothes or yesterday's clothes, but I was ready to go to work. And now my work day was stretched ahead of me. We would have a break for coffee in the morning. We'd have lunch together. We had a break for coffee in the afternoon. We had dinner together. And then your day is filled with tasks that you have to do. And I'm imagining that the crew of Axiom 4 has the same timeline, right? That Peggy's going to work on this and the pilot's going to work on that. And, so they're all marching in lockstep and doing the experiments that they've brought up to complete as much science in as short a time as possible.
What's it like to be actually living aboard the ISS? The professor said lived experience. So, I mean, are you overwhelmed by smells? What does space smell like? What does the ISS smell like? I can see so much bonhomie on screen already, so that's beautiful. But give us the tangibles.
Well, let me answer the second part first. Space smells weird. It's a unique smell. I could tell you if I smelled it right now, I could tell you that's space, but I can't really describe it. Some astronauts have said it smells like welding. It smells like burnt ozone. I mean, who knows what burnt ozone smells like, right? So, but it's a very unique smell. And when your equipment comes back inside after a spacewalk, you can pick that equipment up and you can sniff it and you know that smell is the smell of outer space. Inside, it's kind of sterile. It's very hospital-like. It's a very clean environment. The air is being pushed and exchanged constantly through the systems in the space station. I never really felt that there were any issues with smells except when one of my crewmates would exercise and take his sweaty clothes and wad it up into a ball, and he stuffed it behind a hatch. And then the next day when it was time to exercise, he just pulled those clothes back out, put them on again, and did his exercise. So that could be a little smelly.
That's a bit off-putting. Yeah, I understand that. Of course, those are general issues. But Professor, it's important. And let's just get back to the business end of things very quickly. What are the experiments that you're most looking forward to getting information on from Shubhanshu Shukla?
Well, I mean, there are certain experiments that are there which are to do with future space flights. I mean, exploring foodstuff and how one can grow various things in future space flights and also on the space station, etc. So there are Indian foods that Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla has taken up. These are methi sprouts and mung sprouts and things like that. He's also taken gajar ka halwa as a food and stuff like that. So, but I mean, the experiments are on these various food things that just finding out how the conditions, the weightless conditions, and also the conditions space station would affect these things. So, and then there are interesting organisms that have been taken up. Cyanobacteria, for example, which produces oxygen and also helps in waste disposal. These things are very useful to have in a controlled manner in space environments for obvious reasons, of course. And then and so experiments on that. Then there are various algae that both the Indian team and the European team are experimenting on. Algae can be foodstuff. Right. They can also be used in various things. Then there are interesting experiments on how muscle behaves in weightless conditions and things like that, and how one uses electronic equipment in space. So these are, some of them are very much specific to future missions, and some are things from which you can learn a lot in general for science, not specifically for spacecraft.
Well, a brilliant conversation. Professor, thank you very much. Mr. Ayman, thank you very much, as also Mr. Anderson. Fantastic conversation. Thank you. Very informative. We'll take a very short break, viewers. We're right back with the hard facts. Big story coming up.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Staying with our live and rolling coverage from inside the ISS. We are bringing you these live visuals as, remember, the docking of the spacecraft of Dragon, SpaceX's Dragon, has finally happened. And what you can see over there are visuals from inside the ISS, which are being live streamed by NASA as that hatch has been opened. And what you're witnessing right now are historic visuals of those 4 astronauts which have finally arrived, and indeed history in the making. Remember, they are going to be over here on ISS for 14 days, and ISRO has in fact secured a seat for Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla over there, where he will also be accompanying his crew members to conduct some very significant experiments. And ISRO has said that it wants to launch the country's first ever human space flight in 2027. Not to forget, setting up our own space station by 2035 and send an astronaut to the moon again by 2040. And so this entire mission is going to be very, very significant. Historic visuals coming in for you.
The 4th and final member of Axiom Mission 4, representing Hunor in the nation of Hungary, their first visit to the International Space Station as well. Great big hugs and handshakes across all members of Expedition 73. And Axiom Mission 4 is Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers of NASA, along with Johnny Kim, Kirill Peskov, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky of Roscosmos, and Takuya Onishi, commander of Expedition 73 and of JAXA, with handshakes and hugs for Peggy Whitson, Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski, and Tibor Kapu. And with their arrival to the International Space Station, that now makes 288 visitors to the orbiting laboratory. Axiom Mission 4 is now aboard the International Space Station. Commander Peggy Whitson, in her return to the orbiting laboratory, her 5th flight. 3 is a member of NASA, and her 2nd as commander of Axiom, an Axiom Space private astronaut mission, commander of Axiom 2 and here of Axiom 4. Regaling the crew with smiles and stories. To her left, or our left from her viewpoint, to her right, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski of ESA, Shubhanshu Shukla to her left of ISRO, and Tibor Kapu on that far right-hand side of our viewpoint. The crew is safely aboard the International Space Station. Welcome again to Axiom Mission 4. And we are continuing to target a formal welcome remark from the crew and being joined by the Expedition 73 team as well. That'll be at approximately 8:35 a.m. Central Time. And from there, they will receive a safety briefing and begin their nearly approximately 2-week mission aboard the International Space Station, in which they will participate in around 60 research investigations representing 31 countries, with more than 24 of those experiments sponsored by the ISS National Lab.
Viewers, it appears that the opposition has decided that it will do whatever it takes to undermine the Election Commission. They're on a mission. They've decided to, and it appears that way, from the constant attacks, to sink their teeth into the Election Commission. First, the Election Commission is accused of match fixing, and now, today, viewers, the opposition, the India bloc, led by Mamata Banerjee in this particular instance, is accusing the Election Commission of being a casteist and communal body. Viewers, the first plank about match fixing for the BJP, that plank has collapsed. Let me tell you this, because the High Court, the Bombay High Court, viewers, has come out and rejected a petition that was filed against the Election Commission, suggesting that it rigged, in a sense, the Maharashtra election result. So also what Rahul Gandhi has been saying, by the way, viewers, in favor of the BJP by allowing an undocumented number of voters after the cutoff time, which is 6 p.m. to vote. You know what the court said, viewers? The court said this petition was a waste of time. And the court also came out and said that it wonders if it should impose costs on these people clearly surrogates for various political players' views who are filing these cases against the Election Commission on behalf of their political masters. The Election Commission, viewers, is a constitutionally empowered independent body. And in the national interest, it is undertaking a special revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar. It's a historic mission that it is on. Why is it doing it? To ensure that only genuine Indian citizens vote, viewers. We're going to focus on this issue tonight. The fact that it is ordering a timely cleanup of the electoral rolls. It's a national duty it's performing. But even that, viewers, is being questioned. Viewers, the Election Commission is thinking about Indian voters. It is making an attempt to put the Indian citizen first. After all, if foreigners or illegal settlers begin casting their votes, the interest of genuine Indian citizens will be compromised. Already we are seeing in districts of Bengal, Assam, Jharkhand, indigenous cultures losing out to illegal immigration and immigrants who are cornering state welfare resources and quotas because they have become vote banks, viewers. They've been given all sorts of papers, Aadhaar, this, that, the other, go vote for us. And we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And the poor indigenous voter, the Indian, is not getting anything. So what is the EC doing, viewers? It is saying we've had enough. We've got to make this a level playing field. We've got to put our own citizens first. It's going to weed out these illegal immigrants included in the nationwide electoral roll. It's starting with Bihar, but it's going to extend this. It makes it mandatory for voters to submit proof that they are Indian citizens. Voters registered with Election Commission. Viewers, before 87, the only proof they're required to submit is that of birthplace. Voters born between 87 and 2012 must provide listed document for father or mother also. So there's an additional document that needs to be given. And voters born after December 2nd, 2004 must provide their own and parents' proof of birthplace. EC is also to begin first in Bihar and then extend this exercise for the rest of India. But the India bloc, led by the TMC, is up in arms. Why? Because suddenly asking for proof of citizenship is akin to conducting an NRC, they say, viewers, to allegedly witch hunt the poorest of the poor, and worse, it's a communal exercise in their book to disenfranchise Muslims. Imagine that, viewers. Listen to Mamata Banerjee if you don't believe me. Listen to her.
Sometimes they do not know where is the villager, especially the poor people, especially the hawkers, bakers, or the poor people, commoners. Where they will get the mother certificate, the father certificate? Is it NRC? Is it they are doing or working to establish the NRC? What is their intention? Please let us clarify.
Viewers, by floating this NRC balloon in 2020, you know the mayhem that the opposition created in our country. Roads were blocked. There were riots. In fact, when then President of the United States, Trump, came during his first term, there were riots in Delhi, in East Delhi, viewers. Hindus were targeted. They said the NRC was an exercise in excluding only Muslims. You know all of that. And the CPIML, a Congress ally in Bihar, has said, quote, in terms of its scale and nature, this special intensive revision will be akin to the NRC exercise. You see how they're all speaking, viewers, from the same toolkit. The CPIM says electors, for some reason not able to furnish the documents, will be liable to be deleted from the electoral records. Now, viewers, who doesn't have documents? In today's day and age, when you're getting so much welfare from the state, the poorest of the poor make sure they have their documents and they prove their citizenship. Let me tell you this, viewers. The only ones who don't have documents are those that are sneaking across the borders and engaging in a parasitical relationship with this country. Is the opposition scared of losing its illegal vote bank? When did we as a nation start calling border control an attack on democracy? Is this India bloc more loyal to infiltrators than to India? The EC has taken great care to streamline the process so that no one is left out. And viewers, there's a huge process that has been listed. And it goes into several very important fallback procedures so that no one actually has a problem producing things in time. Even a field inquiry is to be concluded and conducted in case of doubts over details. So there are many opportunities to correct. And we have to ask, despite all these guarantees, these very important guardrails, is the opposition voting for illegal voters? Is it communalizing a legitimate process just to pander to appeasement politics? We put Indian voters first, because if cleaning the rolls of illegal entries is wrong, then what is left of our democracy, viewers? Think about that. That's the fundamental question. Let's open this up for a debate. Let's ask some questions. And I'm going to ask harsh questions, viewers, tonight, because I cannot understand why we are going out on a limb to tarnish the reputation of the EC for putting Indian citizens first. It's absurd. Anirban Banerjee, it's absurd. It reeks, sir. It reeks of an appeasement politics that is being played to undermine the interest of the Indian citizen.
Now, Rahul, first tell me, are you feeling ashamed that you are speaking in English?
Excuse me?
Are you feeling ashamed that you are speaking in English? Are you feeling ashamed?
Answer the question. Get to the point. Get to the point. Don't attack me. I'm not going to take the bait tonight. I'm going to ask you.
This is not a bait.
I'm going to ask you a question. Anirban Banerjee, are you trying to... No, 1 second. Are you besmirching the reputation of the Election Commission because it is committing an important national duty? It is committing itself to an important national duty which undermines your vote bank?
You are committing anti-national duty according to the BJP. So therefore, the Election Commission of India right now is in 100% control of the BJP, since the Chief Election Commissioner is basically appointed by the BJP itself. You know,
sir, do you know what the High Court has said? Do you know what the High Court has said? Do I need to remind you? The High Court has thrown out the petition that was filed in Maharashtra,
Supreme Court
claiming that there was a match fixing. It said it's a waste of time.
Do you know what the Supreme Court of India had said regarding the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner? Did the government overturn the Supreme Court's directive?
Don't change the goalpost. This is not. I'm asking you a simple question, Anirban Banerjee. How is preparing a list, how is cleaning up a list and getting rid of illegals a anti-national activity? Can you explain to me? How does it favor the BJP? Can you explain to me?
You are committing anti-national activity. By speaking in English, you are committing anti-national activity. According to the BJP, not according to me.
Viewers, look at the waste of time. These are the type of people, viewers, you know, when they don't have an argument to make, this is what they say. They have no argument. They're spreading fear. They're undermining our democracy. They're out there, viewers, trying to stir up divisions in our society. They're trying to pit, viewers, Indians against Indians. Again, therefore, they played on that three-letter word, NRC. They did it deliberately. They're doing it again. They want riots.
It's a bad word.
They want
NRC
riots.
is a bad word.
No, it's not a bad word.
It's a bad word.
It's a very good word. But the way you use it, sir, you have weaponized it. You have weaponized it. You have weaponized it.
We will not let it happen. We will not let it happen. This NRC and this nonsense that is starting. आपको डर लगता है. In Delhi, you are demolishing juggies because you are scared of that vote bank. You don't want the poor to survive and vote for those who think for the poor. You just want the capitalist stooges, the big businessmen. That is what you want. And we will not let it happen. Election Commission or no Election Commission. If Election Commission becomes an agent of the BJP, we will not let this happen.
Let me tell you something, viewers. This sounds like the same rhetoric we got in the United States of America before the elections there last year. In fact, in California, just before the election was to begin, and I think Abhijit Iyer Mitra will bear me out on this one, they decided to ban anyone from even showing an ID card when they were coming to vote. Am I wrong, Mr. Mitra?
No, you're absolutely right.
This is what they want here. Kaagaz nahi dikhayenge. They don't even want you to show your birth certificate when you go in. so that you can prove yourself. What does this tell you, Abhijit Iyer Mitra? Before I bring in the BJP national spokesperson. Yeah.
The biggest tell was in what Didi said in that little clip you played. You know, the poorest people I know are usually the most careful about keeping their ID and things like that, because so much of their social security, whatever little social security we're able to provide in this country, is completely dependent on that. Ration card, Aadhaar card, etc., etc. Can you imagine? You remember this? I mean, we're not Gen Z or whatever. We're much older than that. We remember how important the ration card used to be.
Yeah, of course.
How important rations used to be to lower income Indians. They used to guard. They still guard all their ID documents, what few property documents they have, with their lives, because it is everything they have. The people who are least concerned about their Aadhaar card, I remember my boss, for the longest time, for almost 10 years, she was without an Aadhaar card. Why? Because it was a form of social protest against the police state surveilling her. See, you need to have a huge amount of disposable income to say you will not use an Aadhaar card, you will not use UPI, etc., etc. This is not the luxury of the poor. The poor have always maintained their documents and their cards, ID cards, extremely well. So this is an argument that is basically foisted on you to take away the fact that they want to get illegal Bangladeshi voters.
You want to delete the names of the poor people from the voting list. That is the conspiracy, because they don't vote for the BJP.
Listen, tell me one communist.
And it happens across the nation. This is a party which is being supported only by the capitalists.
You're a communist.
For the capitalists and by the capitalists, and that's why we are against it.
You know, in your beloved homeland,
you want to keep on chopping off all the names. Abhijit, that is the problem.
No, 1 second.
In your homeland of China, do you know it's illegal to go anywhere without a photo ID?
Make this a communist state. A state for the poor.
But you want to do that.
Yeah.
No, you're a communist.
But China is a communist country. It's the workers and the farmers who rule.
There's a fact check coming in for
China,
Anirban. 1 second. Listen to this, Iyer Mitra. Listen to this. There's a fact check coming in from Mr. Anirban. You see, viewers, it's not just Bangladeshi or illegals that vote for certain political parties in this country. In fact, viewers, they even give tickets to Bangladeshi nationals. The TMC did this. And guess who caught them out, viewers? And I'm quoting, May 21st, 2022, an inquiry ordered by the Calcutta High Court found TMC candidate Alo Rani Sarkar to be a Bangladeshi national by virtue of birth. This is what they want to hide, viewers. These are hard facts.
Alo Rani Sarkar, by the way.
These are hard facts, viewers.
I do not know why you have your facts always half-checked. Alo Rani Sarkar was a BJP leader as well.
My dear friend, you gave them a ticket. You gave them a ticket. It doesn't matter. You gave them a ticket. You gave this person a ticket. Listen 1 second. I'm giving you the fact. Contradict the fact. Don't change the goalpost. Contradict the fact. Is it not right?
The Supreme Court has not upheld the decision of the High Court.
Trinamool Congress candidate Alo Rani Sarkar, who unsuccessfully contested the Bongao South Assembly seat in 2021, is a Bangladeshi national, the Calcutta High Court said on Friday while passing its order on Sarkar's petition that challenged the poll results. Viewers, this is a fact that I am quoting from May 2022. And there's something else that Mr. Iyer Mitra is telling us. Yes, Mr. Iyer Mitra, what are you showing?
You remember this? A German national. Became an MLA 4 times in India. He won 4 successive elections. A German citizen from the TRS. Chennamani Kamesh.
There you go, viewers. This is what they want. They want every Joe Blow to jump across the border, invade our country, deluge the rights of our own citizens so that they can... One second. BJP national spokesperson coming in. BJP national spokesperson coming in.
Yeah, tell her, why was this person whose name you quoted a leader of the BJP?
Hang on. The accusation is that the EC is doing this to excommunicate voters that would naturally vote for the TMC and other opposition parties. Sanju Verma, a quick response to this, please.
Rahul, I can see that Vivek Srivastava is there with you in the studio, but I hope that he will not interject. There are a couple of very quick points that I want to make. First is this. What are the ECI guidelines all about actually? The Election Commission has said that those whose names were not in the 2003 electoral roll will be required to submit proof of place of birth, voters born before 1st July 1987 must provide proof of date and place of birth. Those born after 1st July 1987 must submit personal identity documents along with their parents' documents. And last but not the least, the same rule applies to individuals born after 2nd December 2004 as well. Now, what is Mamata Banerjee's grouse? She says, how can people born before 1987 not be considered Indian citizens? India gained independence in 1947. Why is the period specifically between 1987 and 2004 being targeted? Now, to Mamata Banerjee's limited knowledge, I would like to simply say this, that people born before July 1987 are not being considered aliens. They are being considered Indian citizens. All they are asked to do is to submit proof of date and place of birth. Why is Mamata Banerjee getting so rattled? And Mamata Banerjee goes on to say that one of the people in the Election Commission earlier used to work as a secretary in Amit Shah's Ministry of Cooperation. So what? IAS bureaucrats get posted from one job, from one designation, from one responsibility to another. Why make a hue and cry of it? And the third point,
he is not neutral. He is not neutral. He will be politically biased in favor of Amit Shah.
Okay, one second.
Vivek, please.
One second.
I did not heckle you, Vivek. Please.
No, all I'm saying is, this gentleman is not neutral.
Okay, one second. We'll come to that. We'll come to that point. Let her finish her point.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Mamata Banerjee surprisingly says the same thing which the Election Commission is saying. Listen to what she says. We are only asking that no legitimate voter's name be left out, because if that happens, this will raise serious questions. So Mamata Banerjee, madam, that is precisely the bona fide intent of the Election Commission. It says we don't want legitimate citizens to be left out, and at the same time, we don't want illegal aliens to be
Why are they using the word NRC, viewers? That's the fundamental question here. Who are they signaling at? The 30% electoral vote bank, viewers, that's who they are signaling at. Let me tell you, I'm giving you another hard fact. And again, this gentleman, the TMC sympathizer, Mr. Banerjee, will get very tickled. You see, viewers, a TMC Gram Panchayat Pradhan was removed for being Bangladeshi immigrant. Here's another fact. And viewers, when was this? February 26 this year. And this lady, viewers, was one, and she won the Panchayat election in 2023. These are people who are winning on fake ID papers. So imagine who's voting for them, viewers. Mr. Gupta, who's voting for these fake candidates from Bangladesh? This is a gravy train.
Probably we have started importing voters as well from Bangladesh, Rahul, to appease a certain vote bank, to appease a certain political party, but this can't go on. Look, just a month ago, we saw scores and scores of citizens. We discovered that they have actually marital ties into Pakistan. Some have children in Pakistan. The voter roll doesn't need to be updated only to wipe out illegal immigrants from the voter list. It also needs to be upgraded to see what are we really harboring in this country in the name of citizens. It's very, very important. NRC or no NRC, the nation deserves to know what actual citizens are and what are the parasites here. It's
and
that
what
simple.
Are their religions?
If any was,
and what is
no,
the religion?
It's not about religion.
Of the voter.
It's not about religion.
And if a person of a particular religion should be allowed to vote or not. How many votes can be cut? How many Muslims can we control? How many minorities guys should be chopped off?
Vivek, will you open up your house to illegal immigrants?
No, it's not.
Will you?
You are going to use the easy to target the normal good Muslim voters here.
No.
Declare them as illegal immigrants. That is the problem.
If they are illegal, they are illegal.
No.
Listen, Mr. Srivastava, don't be obtuse, please. Don't be obtuse. Are you? No, hang on. Do you want to vote for illegal voters? Are you voting for illegal voters tonight by making this ridiculous claim?
The conspiracy is
what is the conspiracy?
To declare the valid Muslim voters as
I'm
illegal.
sorry, sir. Don't make this communal. Don't make this communal, sir.
It is
Don't
communal.
make this communal. Do not make this communal. In Assam, it wasn't communal. When the NRC took place in Assam, when the CA kicked in, we saw it also
in
cut
Assam,
across.
In Assam, you are allowed to keep guns
in
remote areas
I'm sorry, sir.
so that you can protect yourself.
Don't make this communal. You're treading on very dangerous ground. You are talking about secularism, sir. Your party has taken support. Do you know from whom? Islamists, and I'm not saying it, the Congress is saying it in Kerala. Is it not true? You were sharing a stage with an Islamist in Bengal.
In Assam,
the
Chief Minister says
what
you
is
can keep guns in remote areas to save yourself from outside infiltrators.
Don't try to stand today as some guardian of secularism. You people take support. I'm not saying it. The Congress is saying it. In Kerala, from Islamists.
This government wants to target the minorities and Muslims. You don't want them to vote. You don't want the Muslims to vote. That is the problem.
You are sitting in my studio. I can barely hear anyone else. You are shouting into my ear. It's not fair on the other guests. Mr. Gupta and Mr. Iyer are making points. You interrupted them both because when they came to substantive points, you wanted to derail and disrupt. Mr. Gupta comes in right after. 1 second, just 1 second. I'll just let Mr. Gupta finish. Yes.
Rahul, we have to ask all these sympathizers of illegal immigrants a very simple question. Will they open up their houses, their own private property to all the illegal immigrants? Today, Vivek Srivastava, will he commit that he'll adopt 100 illegal immigrants, station them in his house permanently? Because if he agrees to it, only then he has the right to say that India should have illegal immigrants. It's that simple. Walk the talk. If you want India to allow illegal immigrants, first allow them into your private property, into your house. It's that simple. Will you, yes or no? The same question extends to Anirban Banerjee.
Tushar, are you a sympathizer of the legal citizens of our country? Are you?
The legal citizens are not being kicked out of the voter list, Anirban. Only illegal immigrants are. Haven't you read the press release?
Are you a sympathizer for the legal citizens?
Shocking. So absolutely shocking. Can you believe what this person is saying, viewers? This TMC supporter, he has not been able to give me a substantive answer as to why. Gram Panchayat from the TMC turned out to be a Bangladesh national. Hang on. You can't tell me why a candidate of yours turned out to be a Bangladeshi national. You can't tell me why there are 2 other cases which have been reported from your political party that happen to be Bangladeshis. I'm not bringing those up because they are still being heard in the court, but they wouldn't have reached court prima facie had there not been some truth to it. You're not giving me answers. What you're giving me, sir, is a very tricky and sly whataboutery. That's what you're giving me because you don't have legs to stand on. You have come unprepared to this debate and the hard facts are cutting you down, sir. I want to bring in the BJP and I want to bring in Mr. Iyer Mitra right after. Yes.
You know, Rahul, there are a few names that I want to read out.
Yes.
And these are all people who are senior TMC leaders and are reportedly Bangladeshis. You know, you've already spoken about Alorani Sarkar, but I will leave that as it may. There is a gentleman called Newton Das, TMC leader and very close relative of Devashish Das, a youth wing leader from Kakdweep in Bengal. Then there is the case of Ratna Bishwas, TMC leader from North 24 Parganas and a Bangladeshi. Then there is the example of Khokhan Das, TMC MLA from Bardhaman Dakshin, again a Bangladeshi. Then there is the example of Bhadu Sheikh. If you remember, he was murdered in 2022, which led to the Birbhum riots of 2022, wherein 12 people were burnt alive. Bhadu Sheikh is a Bangladeshi. Bhadu Sheikh, the man who murdered Bhadu Sheikh, another TMC leader called Lalan Sheikh, was also a Bangladeshi. And lo and behold, the big daddy of all of them, Shah Jahan Sheikh, accused of gang raping thousands of women in, Sandesh Khali. It is a known fact that Shah Jahan Sheikh is a Bangladeshi immigrant, and whether he has obtained his Aadhaar card and what have you, legally or illegally, is not the point of discussion. But we have enough TMC leaders from a Bhadu Sheikh, a Lalan Sheikh, to a Shah Jahan Sheikh who have been mollycoddled by the TMC dispensation.
So I'm glad you brought up the case of Ratna Bishwas.
Rahul.
Yeah.
My final point is this. Why is NRC a bad word?
Yeah, why is it
it spoken of as if it's an abuse? The last time we had an NRC was in 1951. All that the NRC seeks to do is to identify.
The court, sir, has mandated an NRC.
If we come
the Supreme Court of India.
We'll change it all. All this goes if we come to
power.
Can
you believe it, viewers?
This is the
lot. This is the lot. Now, hang on, just a minute, Mr. Anirban. Tell me this. No, 1 second. Ratna Biswas, a local TMC leader from North 24 Parganas district, and I'm talking about 2023, November 24th. She's a former Panchayat Pradhan. Listen to me. Standing in the presence on the birthday of TMC Lok Sabha MP Kakoli Ghosh Dastedar in Howrah. You know what she says, viewers? And I'm quoting her now. 2024 Lok Sabha election dates is going to be declared in next 3 months. We all know that the process of making the voters list is going on. Many Bangladeshi people live in Zakir Hussein's constituency area. Those who have come from Bangladesh, if they face any problem getting their name into the voter list, please contact Zakir Da. We don't want a single voter to be left out of this list, unquote. This is Ratna Biswas for you, Anirban Banerjee, on record. And what did your party do? Nothing. And who is Zakir Hussain? He's a TMC leader and former chairman of the local Panchayat Samiti.
Now, shall I answer?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
What will you
These people that Madam Sanju Verma mentioned, they are as much of Bangladeshi as much Sanju Verma is a Pakistani.
Oh my God.
This
is the response, viewers. Judge them by their responses. Judge them by their... No, judge them by their responses.
Well said.
You are a paid Darbari of Mamata Banerjee.
Okay.
Anybody according to the BJP in
1 second.
Anybody speak Hindi is a Pakistani.
You are a paid retailer of TMC.
You know what, viewers? You know what, viewers? Abhijit Iyer Mitra.
On national television.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra. You know, okay, let's please, Anirban Banerjee, don't make these personal snide remarks. If you don't, you tried to get under my skin. I didn't take the bait.
Satire.
You're not. No, it's not satire, sir. This is not satire. You're drawing a false equivalence between a bona fide Indian citizen and a Bangladeshi usurper. Please, no, 1 second. Just one. No sense of humor. Don't pass this off as a sense of humor, sir. This is dialectics.
Has a sense of humor.
1 second.
You don't have a sense of humor.
Mr. Mitra, sum this up for us. A large number of our viewers will just find this a little preposterous because there has been such to and fro verbal garbage being flung. But the fact is that certain people on this show have made some very interesting interventions, such as yourself, Sanju Verma, who's brought out facts. I have presented facts. Mr. Gupta has presented facts, but we're not getting a factual response from these people. What is happening here? Can you explain to me, what is this NRC business that is being flagged every other day?
It's very simple. The only reason they're bringing out NRC is because that leads to protests. Okay. Or has led to protests in the past. This is a very simple case where every democracy has the right to enumerate and validate its citizens, especially during an election. The point here is very simple. Today, in today's election, if you want to come out and vote, you have to present certain proofs of identity, and they have an issue with that. Why do they have an issue with that? Well, it's because these are the parties that have done the most to skew the demographic balance of that.
The intentions are bad.
Between the left.
The intentions of the government is bad. The intentions of the election commission doesn't seem very clear.
You know why don't you go to the courts?
It's very clear.
Why don't you go to the courts? Instead of sitting in TV debates and spreading fear and all sorts of fibs, why don't you go to the court? Because the court will tell you, sir, that it's a waste of time. Your intervention.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize
Bihar election comes, let us do something. Bengal elections comes, let us do something. Let us create something. CA, NRC,
please.
Voter list. Fraud ho gaya. Bangladeshi immigrant.
Mr. Mitra wants to come in. Yes.
Rahul, I realize, you see the CPI, they're all bankrupt at the moment. He doesn't have the money to go to court.
They've just lost an election also.
Spokesperson, Sanju ji, maybe you can ask the BJP to loan them some money to go to court. हमारे बगल में भी थोड़ा पाकिस्तान बैठा है.
अब सारे पूंजीपति आप ही के साथ हैं सर.
Okay, look,
जेब आपकी भरी हुई है.
Hang on.
आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा.
थोड़ा सा भिखारी को भी.
That is the problem. You want to victimize the poor.
The simple thing is this.
And people like us who stand for the poor.
1 second, sir. The simple thing is this.
You can't even stand for yourself.
If this is unconstitutional, if this is illegal,
stand for the poor,
if this is an exercise, 1 second, Mr. Gupta. If this is illegal, if this is unconstitutional, if this is an exercise in disenfranchisement of innocents, poorest of the poor, Dalits, Muslims, go to court. Go to court, test your case in court. That's what they should do. There's plenty of time.
We will come on the streets.
On.
We will come on the streets.
You'll come on the streets.
We will come on the streets.
This is it. Mobocracy, viewers. No. Rule by mobocracy. Rule by the mob. Not by the law of the land. Not by the law of the land. Remember this, viewers. Remember this, viewers. Remember this, viewers. And that's why they're drawing up this NRC, because they want to spur the kind of violence that we saw in 2020, 2021. I'm moving on, viewers, because there's an important story. And they're connected in a way. Viewers, New York City is shaken by Zoran Mamdani's surge in the mayoral race. He's a PIO, or a person of Indian origin. He's born to Meera Nair, the acclaimed director. You know Meera Nair, she's made several movies. He's also the first Muslim to win a primary for mayorship. So what happens basically is that he's secured the nomination for the Democratic Party to contest the mayoral poll somewhere in October, November. And viewers, why has he won this nomination? Because he has chosen to align with the faith, viewers, of certain incendiary elements, and he's gained their trust. He declares himself a Muslim deliberately to align his faith to that of his father, who was of Gujarati origin. There are many in the US, including President Donald Trump, who are worried about the emergence of Mamdani. Hailed by the so-called free speech ecosystem, Mamdani masks divisive rhetoric in the language of justice. His emergence has also sparked a debate in India. Many here are concerned that Mamdani's voice in Pakistan is Pakistan, rather, viewers. He speaks like a Pakistani in New York. That's the allegation that is being made. And will work to undermine India's image by painting it in a poor light. And viewers, you can send as many delegates as you want to correct that imbalance. But when there is an insider in the American political process and he's running down India, many people will believe him than your own diplomats or anyone else that you send to do service to the nation. He has chosen to suggest, like Pakistan does, that Indian Muslims are under attack in India. He attended a rally in New York where incendiary, hate-filled anti-Hindu slogans were chanted, and he didn't stop it, viewers. People said some very filthy things. And I'll show you visuals from that rally, viewers, in just a short while. He has made many tirades. On March 7, 2020, he said, quote, "In December, the Indian government passed the CAA, the first stage of an attempt to strip Muslims of their citizenship. When people protested, they were met with police violence and anti-Muslim pogroms," unquote. Why is he using and playing this Muslim card? Because, viewers, there are several. There's a very strong Muslim vote bank in New York. So he's playing this game. He's representing what is known as Muslim alienation. I'm your spokesperson. Another tirade he launched in August 6, 2020. He said this is an old, and that is his viewer's tweet. You can see it. He said this is an old photo of Babri Masjid, a mosque that stood for over 400 years in the Indian city of Ayodhya. In 1992, it was destroyed in a riot instigated by the BJP, now India's ruling party. Tonight, Hindu nationalists will celebrate that atrocity in Times Square, unquote. And it is during that rally where a large number of rabid Hindu phobes said some very despicable things about Hindus, viewers. I can't even begin to repeat it. That's why I haven't really shown that footage, because even the placards are filthy. And this man allowed it. Another tirade on June 21st, 2023. So not only, viewers, is he playing the Muslim victim card, but he's also tolerant of anti-Hindu bigotry. Tirade 3 was in June 21, 2023, and he says, as three of the first South Asians ever elected to New York City and state government, we are appalled by the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to our city. He's a war criminal, unquote, viewers. Naturally, viewers, the ripples of his election or his nomination are being felt in India. The Congress party, Supriya Shrinate, is spokesperson she's quite happy about this. On the other hand, you have BJP leaders like the Member of Parliament Kangana Ranaut who are very unhappy. Supriya Shrinate says it is amusing that individuals who show little concern for our own country and the state of things here are passionately discussing the New York mayor's election. This outrage and apparent worry are genuinely comical, she thinks, viewers. So a person who, viewers, can you imagine? A person who is abusing Hindus and is part of a conspiracy to make them look ghoulish and tolerates their abuse, viewers, concerns over that person becoming the next mayor of New York is comical for the Congress party. Viewers, Kangana Ranaut has come out and said that his mother is Meera Nair, one of our best filmmakers. She's a Padma Shri. She married Mahmood Mamdani, Gujarati origin, a celebrated author, and obviously son's name is Zoran. He sounds more Pakistani than Indian by what he says. And I've shown you some of those examples, viewers. In fact, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi has come out and said that this person, the only person from the Congress party actually, viewers, who's called it out, has said that this person is actually a great PR for Pakistan, and when he's on the box, even Pakistan can go to sleep. These are his words, not mine. Yet, viewers, the ecosystem here is thrilled. A particular India-enabling ecosystem. And I'm talking about the India bloc. Why is this? Let's open this up, viewers. Let's ask some questions. These questions we must ask today in all honesty. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, what's going on?
Look, Zoran is the classic case of what happens when you have a father who is a colonial studies grifter, passes off everything as anti-colonialism.
No, are we being unfair on him, yes. Abhijit Iyer Mitra?
No. Let me get to it. I'm getting there. And a mother who makes unpopular third-rate movies that win a lot of awards.
Objections on this, sir. She is a Padam Shri and a filmmaker.
Let him finish his point, sir.
He's not a Padam Shri.
He's a critic.
Yeah, he's not a critic.
He's a critic. He's written on films also. Please.
Third-rate movies.
And he thinks they're third-rate. It's his view. It is his view, sir.
The mother herself. The mother herself is a toxic Pakistani. Do you remember the movie Fire that she made? She deliberately made the lesbian woman there, named her Sita.
This is, I mean,
he named her Sita.
No.
Why
do you respect?
Let him finish, then you can rebut him.
You question filmmakers, you question their creativity, you question the films. Band kar do sab kuch. Rahul Shivshankar.
Tomorrow you will say, sir, that it's okay even for Pakistanis to be participating in Indian films. You'll say that, won't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course. This is the mentality, viewers. So just ignore what he's saying, please. Sir, please.
So what?
So what?
It has been happening for a long time.
Yes, so what? Look at this, viewers. Look at the callous disregard for Indian lives, Indian sentiments in our own country.
When you have a slick grifter for a father and a slick Bollywood filmmaker, this is what you end up having. He hates Hindus. This has been very clear. You've played that video as well. Yeah. He has called for the arrest of Narendra Modi and God knows what else. But we need to ask ourselves, there are 3% Hindus in New York. What are they doing out here? Do you know this fellow's a pathological liar? He's calling for a tax on 1%. It is not in the power of the mayor of New York to increase taxes. You know who has that power? A New York State Assemblyman, which is what he was for the last 3-4 years. He did not once increase those taxes.
No, what's he diverting? No, what is he diverting?
Talk on the content
he's talking about the content. He's giving you a perspective on this person.
Let him finish. Let him finish, like an American. He's an American politician.
Oh, so he's an American. Hang on. So he has a right to call Prime Minister Narendra Modi a war criminal without any proof.
Why are you bothered?
Then if that is the case, why doesn't he call? Okay, 1 minute. Why doesn't he call? One second. Why doesn't he call Biden and Obama war criminals? You know what Obama did, viewers?
He is a Democrat. He might be abusing Trump.
So it's okay. So we should be selective in our politics.
No, it's not that.
Oh, come on,
why is he important?
Come on, let him finish. Let Mr. Iyer Mitra finish. Don't jump in like a jack in the box.
I touched a raw nerve with Vivek because he belongs to a party where everybody are sexual predators, genocidaires, and this thing. You go to China's history, that is what they all are. Mao Zedong sex parties were very famous. Read that book, Wild Swans. They'll tell you all about it. Lenin's life was a pain to debauchery. So, you know,
I think you read only sex.
All
Sir,
all these psychos and things like that. There's nothing we can do about it.
But let's only sex habits of everyone. Sex habits of politicians.
Can you stop, sir, trivializing this debate? Can you stop trivializing Mr. Srivastava, please? Why does it hurt you if he is calling Mao with reason somebody who was fornicating with underage girls? This is a fact. It's a recorded fact, sir. It's a recorded fact.
Have naked pool parties with 50, 60 women.
It's a recorded fact.
It's a recorded fact.
Mao was a revolutionary who fought.
Please. He killed people, sir. He was the greatest war criminal if there was a human rights genocidal maniac. So 1 minute, please.
We don't believe in your American propaganda.
I don't believe in American propaganda.
This isn't American propaganda. These are Chinese records.
Please stop it. You interrupted in the first debate and now you're doing it now. Let's get to the heart of the issue.
Now this Zoran Mamdani fellow.
Let's get to Mr. Mamdani.
Zoran Mamdani also doesn't know the limits. He dangerously crosses the limits of his own power. He says, I will get Netanyahu and Modi arrested when they land in New York. This is not a power he has. The mayor cannot order an arrest. There are two people that can do that. One is the Attorney General or any of the Deputy Attorney Generals of New York when they have a reasonable cause. And the second is the actual police if they catch somebody in the commissioning of a crime. Okay, so this fellow doesn't know his limits.
Biden supported Israel wholeheartedly, viewers. He pushed the entire weight behind Netanyahu. By that yardstick, even Ayyar Mitra, is a war criminal.
This Zoran Mamdani has called for the killing of Jews. He said he was supporting the Global Intifada campaign. He was celebrating the 7th of October murder of Jews, the killing and raping of women and children. But then what do you expect from somebody born to Meera Nair and some...
No, let's not get into the parents.
Islamophobia also. Why don't you speak something against
Islam
and the Muslims and the Quran?
Let me bring in...
Come on, Abhijit.
Let me bring in Mr. Abbas. 1 second, sir, please. Don't do this. Don't say that. You're always playing the Muslim card in every debate. What's your problem? Are you communal minded?
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Zohran is not a bad guy.
Let me bring in Mr. Abbas. Let me bring in Mr. Abbas, please. Yes, Mr. Abbas. Why should we be sitting here and calling this, like some of your ecosystem colleagues have been calling this, a victory for inclusivity? A person who allowed tirades against the Hindu community, who has no problems against people who are anti-Semitic. How can this be a victory for tolerance and inclusivity?
I will answer that. Rahul Sahab, I've been closely following... Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. I've been following closely Zohran Mamdani's campaign. In fact, I've learned of him when he was a part of the New York State Assembly. What made him win, sir, is the New Yorkers, the city, the people, the votes. As a matter of fact, my friend Abhijit Ayyar Mitra will be quite surprised to know that there is a good segment of Jews who also were campaign members of his.
Yes, I know that. I know that.
Please Google about it. You will know about it.
So there are enough Jews...
There are
also don't like Netanyahu.
Allow me to complete.
But they're not anti-Semitic. They don't want the destruction of Israel.
No, some of them are.
They might have a problem. In the extreme, of course, there are all extremists everywhere, but there might be...
Just completing my point.
No, 1 second, Mr. Abbas.
Allow me to complete.
No, hang on. I am not going... Look, there are many people who vote for many people for reasons. But I want to ask you, you and your ecosystem believe... Is he for you a poster boy of inclusivity? Yes or no? Just tell me this.
I will tell you why, to me, he is an absolute example of young leadership, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, or party. He's an example for youth leadership in US and across the world, because him fighting for affordable childcare, him fighting for free buses, him fighting for rent freeze.
Sir, go ahead and fight for all those things, Mr. Abbas, but tell me, how has he become a poster boy for inclusivity when he has been part of congregations where Hindus have been abused in his presence and he has said nothing? This is the same charge you make against BJP leaders day in and day out.
I will answer that. The fact of the matter, let us understand that there is this plague of Islamophobia in the world. Has it been Rishi Sunak in the US,
people abusing Hindus? People abusing Hindus, where is Islamophobia here?
Allow me to complete my point, sir. Allow me to complete my point.
This is not... I'm asking you a fundamental... Is it not a fact that he was part of a rally where horrible, unmentionable insults were heaped on Hindus? Yes or no? Answer me this question.
I will answer that. Show me one statement of Zohran
Sir,
Mamdani
was he there? Yes or no? Deny that. Deny that fact and I will show you the pictures.
I will deny the fact that he's not made a single statement.
Now, viewers,
against
you see,
our Hindu
silence
brothers.
is complicity.
Hindu
They
brothers,
say
he never said a
silence
word
is
against
complicity.
Hindu brothers.
Mr. Gupta, they say silence is complicity every time.
No.
Every time there is an infraction.
To complete my point, Rahul, give me 1 minute, please. I need to make some facts here.
You're not
Zohran
answering the
Mamdani
question,
won
sir.
because
I've asked you, how is he a poster boy for inclusivity when he was part of a gathering in which Hindus were...
He's a poster boy for the youth leadership in the world because back then when he was a member in the New York State Assembly, he was a primary sponsor of 20
It doesn't
bills,
matter. I'm not looking at American politics. I'm talking about the hypocrisy here of the opposition ecosystem. The opposition ecosystem in India is saying, you see, in India you can never have a young Muslim leader coming up to become a mayor of a #1 city in this country. This is what they're saying.
Unless there's a central government of the Congress.
There you go, viewers. This is what I'm saying.
You have
this is
Muslim
what they're saying. They're giving
Rahul,
certificates. Yes, Mr. Gupta. Let Mr. Gupta come.
Rahul,
Yes.
look, let's not be surprised by what has transpired in New York. The city isn't famous for electing woke radicals who are anti-American. Forget anti-Hindu, they're also anti-American. Alexandria Cortez is a shining example of that.
Society of
New York is pretty much a blue state. Pretty much a blue state. I did not interrupt you. So he's democratically elected and New York elects loony radicals. New York elects loony leftists. It's okay, that's fine.
He's democratically elected. What is your problem with democracy?
Hey, hang on. Amritpal was also elected in this country. He's a Sikh separatist. No, 1 second. So, you had a problem with that? When you have a problem with certain elections, you accuse the electorate of being bigoted. There you're giving, there you're giving clean chits to the electorate. Come on, have some consistency, Mr. Abbas. You're making a fool of yourself on national TV. Just 1 second. I want Mr. Gupta to finish his point. You can respond to him. Let Mr. Gupta finish his point.
Islamophobia. Only because Zohran Mamdani is a Muslim, you have a problem. You have a problem because he's a Muslim.
MC Abbas, no one cares about Zohran Mamdani. No one cares about him. No one cares about his irrelevant. You are pinning your hopes into a man who doesn't even look at the Congress. Look, Rahul, this is the same pattern. In 2020, when Joe Biden became the president, all the Congress leadership was like, oh, the left is back, the liberal democratic governments are back. They did all that charade in 2020 also. They did that charade with Sadiq Khan in London also. Look at what has happened to London. All that leadership, all that inclusivity, where is London today? Look at how the grooming gangs are being dealt with. The kind of, opinion pieces that are coming out, cloaking the grooming bags in Great Britain. This has all been happening in London, and New York will also go the same way. But my problem is with the people who think that New York has witnessed some sort of a political revolution. You should see Trump. Since Congress loves quoting Trump, they should see Trump's utterances on Zohran or on Alexandria Cortez, both from New York.
Whatever it is, he has won and he has won democratically.
Let me, hang on. Just a minute. Let me just read out, viewers, what Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi has said. And Mr. Iyer Mitra, I want you to pitch in here. He said, when Zohran Mamdani opens his mouth, Pakistan's PR team takes the day off. India doesn't need enemies with allies like him shouting fiction from New York. Because certain people in his own ecosystem think he's a great ally. Mr. Iyer Mitra.
So, there are two things. The previous speaker had raised this. Jews are known for undermining their own people. Do you know the people who were loudest about Hitler not being a threat to them were the liberal Jews of Berlin? Okay. This is an old thing. Hindus are also exactly like this. Second, Zohran Mamdani is on record. This is the guy. This is the image of Zohran Mamdani at the Pakistan Action Group.
Oh my God.
Unsurprising because he is a Pakistani. There is no shred of an Indian in him. Meera Nair is known to have fronted lots of Pakistani things. The question is, why is her Salam Balak Trust allowed to run in India? Why does she have an NGO in India called Salam Balak Trust based off her movie that is allowed to fundraise and do all kinds of foreign fundraising and God knows what not when she has these opinions? And by the way, this guy that you see, his name is, we don't know his name, but here is the exact guy. with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif.
And look at the screen. Just look at the screen, viewers. These are those pictures. I finally had to bring them out. 1 second.
So what?
People are calling
Hindus.
People
meet each other.
People are
meet
calling
each other.
Sir, people are calling Hindus on your face there.
He is in the United States. He is in New York. He is fighting an election.
Please.
He wants Indian votes. He wants Pakistani votes. What's wrong with you guys?
Mr. Srivastava, Abhishek Manu Singhvi says when Zohran Mamdani opens his mouth, Pakistan's PR team takes the day off.
Maybe.
That is what Abhishek
He's saying it in a different context.
What context?
The context is because in New York you have Pakistani origin people, Indian origin people, Bangladeshi origin people, Sri Lankan nationals who are over there, and we want everybody to vote. That's what he wants.
So you will attend a Khalistan rally?
Let me ask, yes, he was there at a Khalistan rally. And look at this, viewers. These are the pictures. I've had to pull them out. Mr. Abbas, there you can see. He's standing there listening very calmly to people abusing Hindus. Hateful stroke. And we've had to actually, viewers, edit this and bring out one of the abuses. I can't even begin to tell you what else has been said. And we'll just play that. There it is. That's a rally. Under his nose. Under his nose. Abbas, you used to attack. No, hang on. You used to attack several BJP leaders, including ministers, who made provocative slogans, etc., and said that they are an example of communal bigotry. What would you say? Because they kept quiet when slogans were chanted, hateful anti-Muslim slogans were chanted in their surroundings, they kept quiet. You called them bigots. Will you now call this chap a bigot?
What would you, my dear friend Rahul Shivshankar, what would you call Yogi Adityanath when there's a person sitting right there?
I'm asking you a question. I have called out bigotry of every sort. If Mr. Yogi Adityanath, some quote that you're pulling out is saying nasty things, it's condemnable.
Yes, then say that he's also a bigot.
I have. But the point is, will you call the person an inclusive person?
Okay, now can I...
No, I'm asking you. You take a position.
Will you call Yogi Adityanath an inclusive person?
Sir, you take a position. You take a position. Whataboutery is your last resort of the scoundrel. And the scoundrel is speaking, viewers, today.
Godi media
Here it is. There you are. The point is, viewers...
Godi media is the last
I have called out, it's not about me, the entire...
Abbas has the last laugh.
I have called out people who were released by the Gujarat government, who were rapists, who were sent back by the Supreme Court. I called that out, viewers. I called out all sorts of other hateful behavior. In fact, I even asked the question about Sadhvi Pragya getting a ticket of the Indian Prime Minister. Viewers, these people think that by changing the goalpost, they're going to get away tonight. They don't know who they're dealing with. I have always put facts first. And these visuals speak louder than words.
Answer that.
These speak louder than words, and they can't bring themselves, viewers, to call this man out for his communal hate.
Show me one speech where he speaks against
Mr. Gupta, tell me.
Show me.
Tell me this man's politics. Tell us a little bit about this man's politics.
Let Zohran speak against. I want to see him speak against.
Let Mr. Gupta speak, sir.
And I'll denounce him.
Let Mr. Gupta speak. Yeah.
Rahul, only Gupta and Mitra can speak.
The problem is Zohran's politics is the dirty mix of Muslim appeasement, loony left economic theories, and to top it all, wokeism. That is what sells in New York, and that is what his policies are. That is what Zohran is. I don't know why Indian Congress is finding some sort of a hero in this man who's not only Hindu-phobic, he's also going to show with the time that he's also anti-American.
I want to listen to some speech, some article he has written, some discussion he has done, some lecture he has... I mean, show me where he's Hindu-phobic. Show it to me. Not a single line you can quote from him. And you're just calling him Hindu. Your problem is he's a Muslim and he has won the elections and you don't like it.
I'll tell you, viewers, I'll tell you the facts here. The facts are that he has taken a position against the reclamation of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. He's not just talked about the demolition, which was addressed by our courts, but he has taken a very, very, very sharp position against the reclamation of rights, basic rights, the right to pray of Hindus, viewers. He's forgotten what the Supreme Court has said in this particular matter. That in itself disqualifies him, viewers, from being an inclusive individual. Would he ever say that about Muslims or about Jews, etc., etc.? No. To make yourself more amenable to a particular vote bank, you are part of a rally
No,
where
you are wrong,
abuse
Rahul.
is hurled
Let me
against
state some
Hindus and you
facts to
say nothing. Silence, viewers, is complicity. I leave it at this.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Staying with our live and rolling coverage from inside the ISS. We are bringing you these live visuals as, remember, the docking of the spacecraft of Dragon. SpaceX's Dragon has finally happened, and what you can see over there are visuals from inside the ISS, which are being live streamed by NASA as that hatch has been opened. And what you're witnessing right now are historic visuals of those 4 astronauts which have finally arrived, and indeed history in the making. Remember, they are going to be over here on ISS for 14 days, and ISRO has in fact secured a seat for Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla over there, where he will also be accompanying his crew members to conduct some very significant experiments. And ISRO has said that it wants to launch the country's first ever human space flight in 2027. Not to forget, setting up our own space station by 2035 and send an astronaut to the moon again by 2040. And so this entire mission is going to be very, very significant. Historic visuals coming in for you.
The 4th and final member of Axiom Mission 4, representing Hunor in the nation of Hungary, their first visit to the International Space Station as well. Great big hugs and handshakes across all members of Expedition 73. And Axiom Mission 4 is Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers of NASA, along with Johnny Kim, Kirill Peskov, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Jabritsky of Roscosmos, and Takuya Onishi, commander of Expedition 73 and of JAXA, with handshakes and hugs for Peggy Whitson, Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski, and Tibor Kapu. And with their arrival to the International Space Station, that now makes 288 visitors to the orbiting laboratory. Axiom Mission 4 is now aboard the International Space Station. Commander Peggy Whitson, in her return to the orbiting laboratory, her 5th flight. 3 is a member of NASA, and her 2nd as commander of Axiom, an Axiom Space private astronaut mission, commander of Axiom 2 and here of Axiom 4. Regaling the crew with smiles and stories. To her left, or our left from her viewpoint, to her right, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski of ESA, Shubhanshu Shukla to her left of ISRO, and Tibor Kapu on that far right-hand side of our viewpoint. The crew is safely aboard the International Space Station. Welcome again to Axiom Mission 4. And we are continuing to target a formal welcome remark from the crew and being joined by the Expedition 73 team as well. That'll be at approximately 8:35 a.m. Central Time. And from there, they will receive a safety briefing and begin their nearly approximately 2-week mission aboard the International Space Station, in which they will participate in around 60 research investigations representing 31 countries, with more than 24 of those experiments sponsored by the ISS National Lab. And there they all are.
This is
Hello and good evening. I am Gursheen Garland and you are watching Vantage. Our lead story tonight is about Pakistan. Its missile and nuclear programs is back in focus, once again for the wrong reasons. A new report has highlighted how Pakistan is trying to build a long-range missile, one that could even reach the United States. We'll bring you the details. In China, India has taken a firm stand. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is attending a SEO meeting. India refused to sign the joint statement because it did not mention the Pahalgam attack. We'll tell you what happened. Meanwhile, in West Asia, the tensions remain high. The Trump administration is now on the defensive. It is denying reports that US strikes failed to destroy Iran's nuclear sites. Trump's ceasefire is holding for now. But one question remains. Where is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei? Also on the show, why China has built a gold vault in Hong Kong. How OpenAI is clashing with Microsoft. The latest from Kenya, where deadly unrest has claimed dozens of lives. And a closer look at weight loss jabs. Are they really safe? All that and more coming up. First, the headlines. US President Donald Trump says Israel should pardon its Prime Minister. Calls for Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial to be cancelled. Netanyahu was